Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Battle Ready Makeover. Very excited for this. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to dive directly into the material as we have a lot to cover, and I'd like to get everything wrapped up within 90 minutes. Now, I do want to let you know at the end of this course, the course will continue with a 28-day challenge. I'm going to go into greater detail on this at the end of the talk. But I wanted to get you prepared for action steps that will be taken after this 90-minute course. Now, to start, I think it would be really excellent to get into why are we doing this course? Why is this so important? Why have we done this course for now over a decade? And what is it about my experience that makes this such an important subject, passion of mine, and really, if I'm being transparent, my purpose. Uh, Health was not always at the forefront of my mind, of my value system, but I had, like most of us, we have experiences in life that transform us, and transformed people transform other people. Hopefully, that's what the hope is in life. And I was lucky enough to live in what's called like a generational home. So I not only lived with my parents, but lived with grandparents. And what I got to see during that experience was, and grow closer to on a day to day basis, was my grandparents. And I got to see how they lived, how their health evolved. I went to doctor's appointments with them. They were very close people. And luckily enough, I was young. I was in middle school, high school, and later, I left. They were both alive when I was still in high school. But um, I had a child's mind still, so I got to see their experience, which I think is unique. I got to see their health experience with a fresh set of eyes. I didn't have a lot of preconceived notions, and just like how children think, I got to really see, like, this is not working. Like, why are you doing it this way? Why are we seeing these doctors and you're just taking more medications? And grandma and grandpa, you guys are never getting better. Like, I've just seen you get worse. Like, this is making no sense to me. And because I didn't hold on to a lot of preconceived notions, it really allowed me to see the system my grandparents were in for really what it was. And it wasn't anything I wanted to participate in. It wasn't anything I wanted to be a part of. And that later informed me when I was choosing what I wanted to do with my life and how I was going to help people. I always referred back to them and how could their life experience been better, working their whole life, retiring, and then just being sick all the time and losing their freedom through their health. And that is not at all what we want to accomplish. And the thing, though, is if we want something else, um, it's a fight. It's a battle. It is not the path of least resistance. I think the definition of is insanity is, doing the same exact thing and expecting a different result. If you're doing the exact same thing of the population at large and the majority of people, you should not expect a different outcome. And that outcome right now in our culture and our country is very poor. So my purpose today and overall is to really transform your health. Moreover, you transform your own health by removing interference, living in accordance with how the body was designed. So your health becomes an asset, not a liability. And the last thing I would say on this is, you really have no idea how many people in your life are counting on you to be healthy, that you're a large part of their life. They depend on you for support. They depend on you for wisdom. They depend on you for companionship. And you don't know the gap that the world would have if you weren't in it or you weren't in it healthily. So I want to start off by saying you're a very important person. And you're also a lifelong learner. If you're here on this call, you're wanting to learn, that speaks volumes about who you are and what your motivations are. So let's let's jump into. I want to share a video with how we've been doing with this. And this, I think, will really exemplify how far we've come when it comes to cancer.
Won't you be seated, please? Members of the Senate, members of the House, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today for the purpose of signing the Cancer Act of 1971.
So 1971, let's go now um, to 50 years later.
Last year, Vice President Biden said that
So 50 years later, pretty similar message. Give me one sec. And really, what we want to get to is over 50 years, the statistics have not changed whatsoever. And if there's been any headway made in cancer and decreasing in our country, it's really been just from the Surgeon General warning on stopping smoking. That has really been the lion's share of any decrease in cancer rates. And it was a preventative measure. It was not through treatment or research. Um, it was an act by the government, but I I wanted to show those two videos to really show you the fact that the president is not going to cure cancer. The Congress is not going to cure cancer um, in our lifetime. This is not going to be something that we see in our lifetime be wiped off the face of the earth, no matter how much money we throw at it. Still to this day, the stats are 1 in 2 men will develop cancer, 1 in 3 women will build cancer in their lifetime, and that has not significantly changed. How is it still going this way? And the thing I want everyone to realize and really wrap your head around is how we are attacking cancer now and the battle that we're trying to wage on cancer. It's very similar to, I have a analogy for this, and it's very similar to, I'm just going to say a man neglecting his family for years and years and years, not treating his wife right, not spending time with his kids, not being, a leader in the household, not providing, a man with bad habits who smokes and drinks and doesn't support the family. And him doing that for 20 years, being a deadbeat dad. And then once the wife gives him the divorce papers, he says, "You know what? I'm going to solve this by taking the family to Disney World on a family trip, and that's gonna fix all my problems." That is the moonshot right now that we try to utilize with cancer. We essentially are getting to the causes or the deeper seated issues. And then when it does show up, we want to spend all this money, put all this time, energy, focus into taking that trip to Disney World, and that's going to cure all our problems. I'm not saying that cancer treatments are not helpful or effective or godsend. That please do not mishear me. But what I am saying is, if we want to be like good fathers, good stewards of our health, of our bodies, of our household, of our temple, waiting to get cancer, looking for early diagnosis, and then just seeking out the best medical treatment does not make sense. It does not make sense in any other capacity or any other part of life we would look at. It does not make sense with health. So I think it would be very wise to delineate the difference between a healthy cell and a cancer cell so we can start getting to underlying causes and getting to the root of the problem so we can be better stewards of our body. So the first thing I want you to notice when we look at a healthy cell is it primarily is going to use oxygen for fuel. And it does this through what's called the Krebs cycle. And some of you may have had to learn the Krebs cycle in biology. I remember having to memorize it in school. Very important cycle and very important discovery in human history, but it's how we most efficiently get energy in the cell. And that requires oxygen. It does not have to, a cell does not need sugar for fuel. It does not have to have it. It can use other sources of energy. A healthy cell needs a proper nerve supply. And a healthy cell is going to have a slightly, almost neutral, but slightly alkaline environment. Now, as we come and compare that to a cancer cell, some big differences we're going to notice. Number one is cancer cells do not use oxygen for fuel. Now, they are going to try to, it's called angiogenesis. They're going to try to change the blood flow to get oxygen to come into the tissue around the cancer. But essentially, their energy source is not the Krebs cycle, it's glycolysis, which is anaerobic, can be kind of confusing, meaning there is oxygen around, the cancer cell's just not using it for energy. They are only going to use sugar for fuel. Glycolysis, the process that cancer needs to use to build energy, it must have sugar. It cannot use any other energy source. It is a highly inflammatory environment where cancer survives and thrives. Cancer cells are completely disconnected from the nervous system. And you will notice that cancer cells have a slightly acidic or highly alkaline environment. And the reason for this is when these acidic environments or highly alkaline environments, it's going to make the outside of the cancer cell, it's going to stimulate proteins that are going to make them spread faster and metastasize faster. If we do have that healthy, slightly alkaline pH, we're not going to see that ideal environment for the cancer to spread. Now, we are not at the whim of these cancer cells. We have an amazing system in place that we inherited, that was given to us, that we developed when we were younger, that is in place to destroy these abnormal cancer cells, and that is called our immune system. Everybody on this line here, everybody watching, you're going to build between 100 and 10,000 cancer cells on a daily basis, every day, today. And if you have a strongly functioning immune system, it's going to take care of it. Your immune system is going to, and this is really what your immune system is identifies these unhealthy cells. It's going to clear them out. It's going to destroy them. And that's one of its main roles. Now, the key thing with the immune system, though, that if we want to leverage it properly, it's a two-prong approach. When dealing with the immune system, we need to have, and I played college football, and to win games and to beat your opponent in battle, you had to have a healthy offense and you had to have a healthy defense. If you don't have both a healthy offense and defense, you're a one-sided team. It's very hard to win games. It's very hard to win a battle if you're one-sided. So on the defensive front, what we want to make sure we're doing with the immune system is that we are optimizing the immune system. We're not doing things to decrease it or use it up or use its energy so it can do what it needs to do to find those cancer cells. That is how we're going to, on a defensive standpoint, we've got to do the things it takes to build up that strong immune system. On the offensive front, what we must do is we cannot do things that are going to damage more cells, expose ourselves to more toxins, and do things to the body that are going to make the immune system's job larger. We don't want to give it a larger job than it has to do. We want to minimize the work that it needs to do. So you can see this two-prong approach. We want the strong defensive immune system, but we also want to go on the offensive and not give it more work than it needs to do. That is really the best strategy I've seen. That's the strategy that we used with my mother when she was diagnosed with, she had stage 3B colorectal cancer. And this is the mentorship and the coaching that we received. And it makes sense. It completely makes sense. You already have an amazing system in place called your immune system to kill cancer, to fight cancer. Let's leverage that to the utmost. It's pretty interesting. You'll see the newest drugs that are trying to be developed for cancer research and curing cancer. They are primarily in the realm of how can we artificially improve our immune system. They have not struck gold on that yet. There's too many side effects. When you artificially strengthen the immune system, it starts attacking things you don't want it to do. We just want a really properly functioning immune system. All right. So what are the things that, if we're going to go on the offensive, what are the things that contribute to cancer? What are the habits that are going to put a burden on the body to increase your cancer risk? And as I'm going through these 5 habits, the very interesting thing I want everybody to notice is that these 5 habits, you're going to see they're all closely intertwined and related. They stack on top of each other. They work like dominoes. And this is good news and bad news. The good news is if you can stop these habits and you break this pattern, you're going to notice it's going to go into other parts of your life. The bad news is, though, is as you go through these habits, as you're doing them, they compound upon each other. There's a compounding effect that makes it worse and worse and worse and worse the more of these habits you are doing. So we're going to start with the standard American diet. Habit number 1. And I could talk this entire time about how bad the standard American diet is. I want to give you guys the high points and maybe some things you don't know. Number 1, standard American diet is high in sugar. We're going to get deeper into why sugar is bad. But essentially, most of that sugar comes from beverages. This is sodas, juices, high sugar beverages. So just right there, guys, if you can make one change to just don't even worry about the sugar you're eating in the form of like desserts or food. But if you look at it in the form of beverages, right there is a huge win. That's massive. Another aspect of the standard American diet is it's low in micronutrients. It's not going to have the little building blocks that you need to help your body. The third thing, and this is more nuanced approach, is the standard American diet, breads and processed foods, things of that nature, they're going to be fortified with a B vitamin called folic acid. And this is very important. Folic acid is very bad for the majority of people. And the reason being is between 30 and 70% of Americans, when tested, have what's called a MTHFR gene mutation. It means you don't methylate properly. And methylation is it's a chemical reaction that happens within the liver, and methylation is changing the food you eat and the nutrients you eat, the vitamins you eat, into usable form in the body. It's very, very important. It's very important for detoxing. It's very important for making proteins. Very important process. And it depends on your race. But the ones I really want to highlight here is it's around 70% of Caucasians have this gene mutation. And that means that you do not want folic acid in your body whatsoever. You need a form called folate. And folate is a natural occurring B vitamin. This is how you would get it in naturally occurring foods, whole foods. This is also the form of B that we have in our supplements, the prenatal supplements and so forth. We never want to have folic acid in any of our supplements. And this is so important. It's one of the most important vitamins that you take. And if you have this gene mutation and you're eating a lot of standard foods and these foods that are fortified with folic acid, it's going to cause problems. It's going to cause problems with your health. It's going to cause problems within your liver, your ability to detox. So we want to avoid that. And the last aspect of the standard American diet is really bad is the oils that are typically used in the standard American diet. They're pro-inflammatory. They're not really genetically compatible with our system. So they cause inflammation. So they cause an inflammation response throughout the entire body. They cause it. Typically when you may have felt this when you have a bad meal and you feel your joints hurt, you feel sluggish, you know, certain things kind of increased aches and pains. You may get a little bit of swelling. That is typically from the bad, rancid, damaging oils. So that's number one bad habit. Number two risk factor is stress, and stress is highly linked with increased cancer. And this is one of those things where stress hits on a couple different levels. Number one reason why stress is bad is it's going to lower your immune system. Now, I want to be clear. Short-term stress is good. Stress response is normal. You want to have a short-term stress response. This is how we were designed. But what we were not designed for is chronic stress, being under a consistent load of stress for days and days and weeks, months and months. Some people years and years and years in a stress response. Is what that's going to do over time is it is going to lower your immune system, which, if you remember, your immune system kills cancer. The second reason stress is bad, it's going to make us crave foods. The standard American diet foods, things that are sweet, things that are high in fat, things that were made in a lab that were designed to trigger certain parts of our brain by Frito-Lay and by think things like Cheerios and Doritos and ice cream. These are things that you can genetically not deny that you want them. And when you're stressed, you kick it in an extreme overdrive that you really crave those foods. So stress is very hard on your immune system. It also is going to make you crave bad foods. And then long-term stress is extremely hard on your central nervous system. It is not good for the brain. It's not good for your hormones. It's not good for your central control system. So that is risk factor number two. Number three is sedentary lifestyle, not getting off the couch, not exercising, not getting recommended movement. Now, again, this is going to hit on a couple different levels. Number one is if you're not moving, you are not tapping into your body's natural stress relieving response. Exercise and movement is how we de-stress. Also, if you're not moving, most likely you are going to be overweight. You're not going to be your ideal weight. If you're overweight, you go in that overweight or obese category, you're going to have a higher risk, much higher risk for cancer. And then lastly, if you're not exercising, it's also going to lower your immune system. The more you exercise on a regular basis, that is going to trigger and stimulate, make sure you have a good, healthy immune response. So you can see how these things are starting to work together. You're seeing a lot of things around immune system. You're going to see a lot of things that are centered around stress and hormones. And you're also going to see standard American diet, stress, and sedentary lifestyle all cause increased inflammation in the body. When you don't move, you're going to see a buildup of this oxidative stress and increased inflammation. Number four is toxic exposure. This is now in everything, and we're going to dive deep into toxic exposure. But the big thing I want to highlight here with toxic exposure is that it affects your hormones, and your immune system has to deal with it. You get rid of and you detox your body through the same system that fights cancer. So if it's your immune system is chronically having to clear out toxins, it's using up its valuable resources where it could be used to fight cancer and kill those cells. And then last risk factor is a lack of sleep. Now, 1 in 3 Americans do not get adequate sleep. I do want to be transparent. This is an area, and if you've been to a talk, I've spoken about this. I've struggled with this historically, where me and my wife are in a bit of a struggle with this right now with a 2-year-old that is not the best sleeper. But I know how important it is. Sleep must be a priority. Sleep is when your body is remodeling, it's remolding, it's rejuvenating. This is when the killer T cells are searching your body for cancer and cells that have been stressed and oxidated. Sleep is also how you handle stress. If you have not had adequate sleep, and anybody here who's done that, you cannot handle stress as well. Your nervous system is really it's under the gun. I do want to just quickly go back. This is something I want to touch on. This is really super important. And I want to bring this up, and I'm going to touch on this later. When it comes to exercise, this is a fascinating finding that came out about 2 years ago. If you've ever exercised, you may notice it puts you in a better mood, that you feel better. And what they found out, it's actually not true. You're not in a better mood. Exercising does not increase mood. Fascinating enough, this is what exercise does. It makes the effects of negative things less on your system. It decreases what's called negative affect. The affect or the mood or the negative things that happen to you have a less they have less amplitude to how they affect you. That's fascinating to me. That doesn't really put you in a better mood. It's that now bad things don't bother you as much. What a cool thing. All right, now back to lack of sleep. You're not gonna be able to handle stress. You're not gonna be able to find those cancer cells. Your immune system works during sleep. And then lastly, lack of sleep is terrible for the nervous system. I do want to bring up a point about sleep that I found fascinating is they know you will die from a lack of sleep. In the lab, and I believe they've done this with lab animals, which very cruel, but they're researching the effects of lack of sleep. Right around 11 days, a lack of sleep, animals begin to die. And this is why that part of that study I find fascinating. What you die from when you die from a lack of sleep, what they found is you die from oxidative stress that accumulates in your digestive system. That is one of the precursors. Before those animals died, they saw this huge influx of oxidative stress and markers in the gut of those animals. And why I want to bring this up is I'm not sure. Hopefully, some of you guys came to the gut workshop. We've done an inflammation workshop this year. You'll notice the workshops build off each other. But the new research is showing that sleeping is super important for gut health, because as you're sleeping, that's when you're clearing out the inflammatory response that's happening within the gut. All right, so those are the bad habits. We've all been guilty of those. I've been guilty of all 5 of those in my life. But I really want to harp on that prevention is our best treatment. Because we don't sleep good, because we don't eat good, we don't exercise, because there's toxic exposure, does that mean that's just how it's going to be and we should just take medications? Is that the best solution? I do not think so. And we have to turn this thing around. And when turning things around, what I've noticed is you're never going to get healthy studying disease. A person's not going to get super fully healthy studying sick people. Same way as you look somebody who's in poverty, that wants to get wealthy, they're not going to get wealthy studying people in poverty. You look at somebody who wants to have an amazing marriage, you're not going to learn that studying divorce. That is, you don't learn things by studying the opposite of the thing you're trying to model. It seems like it would work in theory. It does not work. This is one of the things that drew me to chiropractic. This quote by B.J. Palmer, he's who developed chiropractic. Medicine is the study of disease and what causes man to die. Chiropractic is the study of health and what causes man to live. Let's talk about what causes you to live. Let's talk about what causes you to thrive. And when we're looking at this concept, I love this analogy is, when we're building health, we want to build a healthy body, a healthy temple. It's similar to a structure. And when we're looking at your structure, there's some very important building blocks. And now doing this over a decade, this infographic is a culmination of a decade of work of working with people, frankly, that told me they wanted to get healthy and they did get healthy. Working with people who needed really to get healthy badly, guys, like their family depended on them. They had all the reasons in the world to get healthy, and it just didn't happen. It's heartbreaking. And I saw patterns with those very strong patterns. And then you have people over here who make it happen. They had the same excuses, even sometimes more excuses. They had same environment, sometimes like worse environment with resources they have or backgrounds they come from, but they still get healthy and they make it happen. What are the trends? What do we see when building a healthy house? So when building this healthy house, you got these two pillars on either side. And this is where we've got to start. So the two pillars that hold up the roof, we can't even get into the meat in the middle till we talk about these two, are trust and commitment. And a trend I've seen when people are starting off a health journey is they have lost trust in themselves because they've broken promises to themselves when it comes to health. Some of you may be able to relate with this. I can relate with this. You said you were going to do a thing, or you started Weight Watchers, or you started a workout program, you joined a gym. It's a completely human experience. But when you go against your word, even when it was important, you lose trust in yourself. And the only way to regain that trust is to really completely forgive yourself of those previous failings. Really saying, I'm human. Life is an iterative game. That means iterative means that it's happening day after day after day. Every day is a new day. And just because I failed once does not make me a failure. It does not make me lazy. It does not make me somebody who can't follow through. I just in the past have exhibited some of those behaviors. But I've got to start fresh, forgive myself, and start to trust myself again. Now, trust, brother, is commitment. So once we've completely forgiven ourselves and say, hey, clean slate, trust ourselves. Today's a new day. Now it's time to make a new commitment, and a new commitment to being healthy, a new commitment to stepping into being a different person, different identity, somebody who makes healthy choices, somebody who is not going to get cancer. Guys, this is so important to change and commit to an identity of I'm not getting this. This is not something that's going to affect me and my family if I have anything to do about it. Now, the foundation under all of this, the big, thick foundation is your purpose. That is the why behind you getting healthy. The classic thing I've seen is a mom or somebody who wasn't a mom, a female, lived a certain lifestyle, smoke, didn't take care of herself. The day after she finds out she's pregnant, she quit smoking that day, completely changed her lifestyle. Come to the hey, I heard going to the chiropractor is really good for pregnancy. They do a complete 180 because now in life, their purpose has completely changed. They have a different why. So the question I would ask you, and I would want you to journal, ponder, write down, why is it important for you to get healthy? Why is it important, honestly, for you to be a healthy person? Why even do this? If you can honestly answer that question for yourself, not because somebody told you to, not because it's the quote unquote right thing to do or you should do it, but authentically say, you know what, as an example, I want to be healthy for my family. I want to break the generational chains of disease in my family. I want to be healthy for me. I want to have freedom when I'm older. I want to have an impact and do the things I want to do. I want to look a certain way. I want to feel a certain way. Damn it, I don't want to take these pills anymore. When you can authentically come to those grips, now you've got your foundation. You got your foundation we can build on. And with those two, trusting yourself, forgiving yourself, recommitting, having this purpose. Now we can fill in the house and the building blocks. And this is a hierarchy. So as we look at the building blocks of health, we've got your mindset, how you think about things. This is stress, sleep, your central nervous system, your brain. Then under that, we have the spine, which is also your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system, your posture, your spine moves. You're only as young as your spine. So that is secondly most important, because that is how your mindset gets transmitted to the rest of your body. And then under that, we have the food we eat, nutrition. Then we have exercise, which I have here down as oxygen, because exercise is really bringing oxygen to the tissues and building lean muscle mass. And then the bottom, we have toxicity. Now, I want to make a note about toxicity. For a lot of people, it can be the bottom one, the least important one. This one, though, this toxicity, it can move all up and down. It could be the most important one if you were, say, for instance, exposed to like heavy metals, or you have some type of mold toxicity. You'll know it. If you know you have a history, or you feel really weird, or you have some really weird brain fog symptoms, fatigue symptoms, things that are really, really out of the ordinary, and you've gotten blood testing and things, and it's not, it's coming back normal. They can't really find the cause. Toxicity needs to be at the top, and the other 4 need to be below it. Those seem to be rare cases, but I want to let you know toxicity can kind of move all around. But this is the hierarchy. This is how we're going to build health. This is how we're going to prevent cancer. And what's so cool about this, guys, if you follow this formula, you follow this blueprint, this building plan, it's not only going to prevent cancer. This is the same plan to prevent diabetes, to prevent infertility or change in fertility. It's the same thing to raise function and stop disease and turn it around. It's so cool. And I love when things work like that. All right. So let's get into more specifically how the 3 keys to building this unbreakable immune system and stopping cancer in its tracks. And, and I want to just on a side note, if there's anybody on this call that has currently a diagnosis of cancer or has had one in the past, and you're in remission, first off, like been through it with multiple family members, guys, like nothing but good vibes your way, like fighting for you. I know what you're going through is hard. What you've been through is hard. As we're going through these positive steps to take, this is like doubly important for you. It is no compromises. When my mother, what I loved about when she beat cancer, no compromises, no cheating. This is serious stuff. This is do or die, so to speak. So these are things that are going to work perfectly in tandem with whatever treatment protocol you were following. So number one thing is we want to focus on cancer fighting foods. Now, before we get into specifics of cancer fighting foods, there's a caveat here, and this is what's difficult, is because of farming practices, the soil is not the same as it used to be even 100 years ago. We know this through testing of food and through testing of soil. So this really does, to get cancer fighting nutrients, to make sure we're covering our butt, supplementation is necessary in almost all cases. So this is the necessity of a good multivitamin. It is very hard to get all of these nutrients through food these days. Not saying it's impossible. If you grow your own food or you're sourcing everything from a regenerative farm, I am not doing those things at this point in time. Dr. Callahan, my brother and partner, he's getting closer. But you would really have to get everything you eat from a properly done regenerative farm to not have to supplement a multivitamin. So that is key, and I want to touch on that. What's also key is some of these nutrients can be different for men and women for what they need exactly. That's why the multivitamin or the essential packets that we recommend are different for men and women, and there's slightly different formulations. So one thing that we've got to touch on when it comes to cancer, and we've already talked about this, but is the biggest thing with the standard American diet is the oils that are involved. Now, some of you may say, well, I don't cook with bad oil. I use olive oil, or I use coconut oil, or I use avocado oil, which are the good oils to cook with, or I use butter, I use lard, I use ghee. Those are the good choices when cooking. That's not really where we get refined oils. We do a little bit, but the primary location of refined oils is in any processed food. That's where we're going to get them. Anything that's a cookie, that's a cracker, that's a chip, anything that comes in a box, anything that's in the freezer. I just, guys, I want you to think anything that's not a whole food that is processed, even like the sexy marketed health foods that you get at Whole Foods, or it looks like it's healthy, but it's still in a box. It's going to have refined oils in it. That is the process of making it. And the main one that is a detriment to our health is soybean oil. That is what is in the majority of processed food. There's also canola oil, palm oil, cottonseed oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, peanut oil are not the best oil choices. But the big culprit in the diet is soybean oil. It's terrible for us. And the uptake of it has gone up exponentially. It is the number one oil now in our food system. This is what we want to avoid. It for sure causes cancer. This is a very well done study on soybean oil and other vegetable oils. They show that without a shadow of a doubt, if you are consistently eating these oils compared to a control group, they were eating basically the same diet. One was just they had to leave out vegetable oil. There was a much higher cancer risk. So it's not up for debate. This is terrible for you. We want to cut them out. The only way you're going to cut these oils out is going more towards choosing whole foods. Just don't eat processed foods, avoiding them at all costs. Trying your best to knowing that when I'm eating something out of a bag or a box, it's going to have these oils in it. There's going to be an inflammatory response, and it's going to give my body a better chance of developing disease and cancer. So how are we going to fight this? We can balance this. And those bad oils are typically very high in omega-6 oils. And there's a balance between omega-3 and omega-6 oils in our body for inflammation response. And how we're going to balance this omega-6, omega-3 ratio is through ingesting more omega-3s, healthy omega-3s. Now they're in flax oil, but my favorite way to get omega-3s are in cold water, wild-caught fish. Our ancestors ate a lot of this. This is also omega-3s are high in wild game, deer, elk, rabbit, any type of wild game we would take, our ancestors would take, would also be high in omega-3s. Grain-fed cattle or traditional meats, they're not going to be high in omega-3s because they're not eating a ancestral diet for that animal. They are going to be eating grain, not grass. So that's going to that grain is going to raise up the omega-6 content. So how we're going to balance this aspect of the damage that we've done is through fish oil supplement, or you can try to get 3 servings of fish per week. I get 1 serving of fish per week. That's in our meal plan. My wife's gracious enough to stink up the house and cook fish. I'll go through phases personally where I'll eat sardines. It's not something I can sustain. I've tried to, I cannot sustain it. I'm just in my reality where I'm at with life, with kids and food prepping and where I'm at, I can sustain it through taking a fish oil supplement. One last side note on here. I had a mentor who really got into seeing how good fish was for you. And it's excellent. And he ate a lot of it for a long time. And he ate top predator species like salmon and tuna. And he did too much of it. And he ended up getting mercury poisoning. This is a real thing. He ate, it took him 8 years for this to happen, but that is another reason why when today's oceans and with the poisoning industrial toxins that are in the ocean, because the toxins accumulate up the food chain. So the higher predator fish have the higher biotoxic accumulation of mercury and heavy metals that are not water soluble. They're fat soluble. So they're going to stay in the fat of that fish. I'd recommend doing a fish oil supplement if possible. All right. We should know by now that sugar is not good for us. Whoever has ever told you that, I hope you just shoot right back at them that sugar in no way, shape, or form is good for us. We did not eat a lot of it historically. It is new to our diet, generationally speaking. Sugar does a lot of things bad for us. And I want to cover the big ones as far as cancer goes. Now, I want to remind you guys, some of you guys may be candy eaters, excuse me, or sweet eaters. Sugar can find its way in sauces, ketchup, things of that nature. But the main culprit is sugary drinks, Gatorade, Coke, juices, things of that nature. And here's why sugar is so terrible. Sugar directly feeds cancer. Cancer has 8 times the receptor sites for sugar as a normal cell. Now, we know this. If you've ever had cancer or have had a family member have cancer, they are going to go get what's called a PET scan. And a PET scan is where they attach a radioactive isotope to glucose, and they're going to inject it into your bloodstream. And what happens is that radioactive isotope that's connected to the glucose, which is sugar, it's going to be absorbed by the cancer cells 8 times faster than your normal tissue. So then when they do the scan and they take your body, wherever there's cancer is going to light up from that radioactive isotope like a Christmas tree. And that is because the cancer is absorbing, metabolizing, using that sugar for energy much greater than your regular tissue. Cancer is also going to stimulate a pro-inflammatory environment. It's going to create inflammation in the body. It's going to down-regulate the immune system. I learned this. I've always known this just academically through reading, but when I really saw this was with my kids. When Halloween's about to roll around, they're getting certain pieces of candy, and then we're doing the switch, which you are not getting whatever we used to give them because it is guaranteed they're going to get sick. And the reason being is right around 35 grams of sugar, which is about 1 cupcake. It's just over 1 cupcake. So think a donut and a half. It's kind of hard to eat 1 donut. But right around that range, which is not that much sugar, but in one sitting, if you ingest that amount, that's going to downregulate your immune system by 60%. That's a strong downregulation. That's going to make you prone to illnesses, to get sick. But I want you to view that if you're doing like a soda a day, or you're doing that amount of sugar or drinking a Gatorade a day, that chronic downregulating of your immune system, you can see how that could lead to cancer. So we do not want to downregulate the immune system. And then the sugar is going to speed up your aging process. And it does this through a process called glycogenic end products. So that sugar is going to interact with your tissue. And over time, it's going to cause it to age faster, which is, we don't want to do that. We do not want to age faster than we have to do. That's going to put an oxidative stress load on our body. We want to stay young as long as possible. So what are the anti-cancer foods? And this is really powerful. So that's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid sugar. We want to avoid bad fats. We've got to do those things to avoid cancer. But what are things we can add in? One thing we want to do is we want to add in a broad range of plant material that are rich in micronutrients that have differing colors. It's really important. If you guys came to the gut health workshop, a massive thing they noticed was, I might want to make this bigger for you guys. A massive thing they noticed is that they did a twin study in the UK. It was a large study, 7,000 participants. And they noticed that the biggest differences in twins' health was in their gut microbiome that delineated if they were going to be healthy or not. So how does one twin, genetically identical twin, be really healthy and one genetically identical twin was really sick? The biggest difference they found was gut health. And when they looked at what was the cause of the gut disruption, it was that the healthy gut health twin had gotten a broad range of plant material into their diet. So if they looked out around the week, that twin had gotten around 30 different plant species, fruits and vegetables, different spices, different things into their diet. That broad range fed a broad range of gut microbiome and the different bacteria, and it gave them this great, strong, robust gut health. So important thing to remember with anti-cancer foods is just a broad range of plant species. We want our food to be live, so have live enzymes. We do want to cook proteins and cook certain foods to release nutrients. So you do get some more nutrients from cooking food. That was one of the miracles of fire that helped our species. But we also need a healthy balance with not just all cooked food. We need a balance with raw food as well that has these enzymes that are going to help your body. We want our nutrition to be high in antioxidants. Now we're going to get deeper into this, what is actually the strongest antioxidant and you can't really eat it, but it helps to have foods that are high in antioxidants. And there's some superfoods. You guys have probably heard of them, like blueberries, blackberries, different types of berries, and herbs and spices that are super high antioxidants. We want our anti-cancer foods are high in fiber, which is a prebiotic. We want our foods to be high in micronutrients, so not just good protein, carbohydrate, and fat, but we want them to have the little things, the chromium, the selenium, the zinc, the little vitamins and minerals in a good nutrient communion as much as possible. Now, we're going to recommend a multivitamin on top of that just to cover our butt. But I love to get most of this from food as much as we can. And then there's a couple super immune foods that are not in most people's diet. These are different mushrooms and roots, and in different studies, they show it stimulates white blood cells. It's these cool foods that we've evolved next to that people and cultures have been using for thousands of years that we know help the immune system. Now, all of this, the broad range of plant materials, live enzymes, high antioxidants, fiber, prebiotic, micro nutrients, super immune foods. This can be hard to incorporate all of this in your diet. It can be done. This is why I recommend some type of greens powder mix. So you look at any greens mix, this is what it's going to have. Okay. And this is really the invention of greens mix. You may have heard of a product called like Athletic Greens. They're very popular in the health community. I recommend, we have a great greens called Max Greens. We know all the things come from a regenerative farm of this greens, but this is some type of powder that's going to cover all your bases. It's going to have a broad range of plant material, live enzymes, all the best stuff. And again, it's going to cover all your bases. So I highly recommend that as part of your anti-cancer regimen. Sunlight and vitamin D. We are getting ready to go into a time of the year. There is no way to get enough vitamin D to be healthy with where we live as far as our latitude, I believe, our latitude. And Oklahoma also rests right in an area where it's hard to get our adequate levels of vitamin D, even in the spring and fall. You can get it in the summer. So we do need to supplement vitamin D3. This is super important, especially for minorities. When I say minorities, people, African descent, people of darker skin descent. Anytime you're not just straight Caucasian, you have a darker skin tone. Your body evolved to get more sunlight, and you make less vitamin D. Huge. This is enormous. Now, we want blood levels at least 60 nanograms per milliliter. I just want to bring up one study here. And this, just for all the females here, this is it. If you're a female and you're not taking D3 or you're checking your blood levels, you're really, in my opinion, missing the boat. There have been multiple reproduced studies that show that if you can get those adequate D3 levels in your blood of that 60 nanogram per milliliter, it's going to reduce your risk of breast cancer by 83%. Some studies showed 80%, maybe a little lower. It's right around 80 to 83%. And that's just breast cancer. It's also going to reduce other cancers. It's going to reduce your risk of diabetes. It's going to reduce your risk of multiple sclerosis. It's a very cost-effective supplement. It's a must. It's really a must. My two top supplements are fish oil and D3 with the types of diseases that are prevalent. So huge part of fighting cancer. Now, you may say, why? Why is D3 so important? There's multiple reasons. It's used in literally hundreds of chemical reactions in the body. But the big reason, and you're going to, again, noticing the trend here, it's needed for the immune system. It's needed for multiple immune reactions to have a robust and healthy immune system. All right, key number 2 is we want to detox our home and body. And this can be difficult. And the specific toxins I'm talking about here, and a toxin is really any industrial chemical that is not meant to be in our body, but there's a specific subset of toxins called carcinogens, cancer-causing toxins. What are these things? And a good example is we know carcinogens are in cigarettes. They're things that when you put them in your body, we have a lot of data that they're gonna interact with the body system and they're gonna cause cancer. And they are everywhere. They're in our cleaning products. They're just in our natural environment. They're in processed foods. They're in produce sprays. They're in drinking water. Unfortunately, the more you read about this, the more kind of down in the dumps you get. It's really unavoidable. Just carcinogens are everywhere. Now we can really do some things to avoid the big ones like cigarette smoking and alcohol. And here's one thing I want to just bring up. This, like, the whole world is exposed to carcinogens, but let's talk about like Danish country. So the country that has the highest cancer rates in the world is not America. It's Denmark. And why is that? Because they have about the same lifestyle as Canada. They have about the same lifestyle as Australia, the United States. They have a very similar lifestyle to us. And we're ranked 7th, but like Australia is way up there. I think they're number 2. Canada's up there. All these developed countries are up there. But why are the Danes, why are they so much worse? Why are they number 1? And what it boils down to is they smoke more cigarettes and they drink more alcohol. And that's key. Like just avoiding those 2 things is, duh, you know what I mean? Like, duh, like I know not to smoke. But one thing I see other patients struggle with more, and something I've struggled with more just in social situations, is just understanding how bad alcohol is for you. It's a carcinogen. It's really linked to colorectal cancer. And it's also going to lower your immune system. So carcinogens are everywhere. We're going to encounter them, but hey, you can control if you drink alcohol, if you smoke cigarettes. All right. So, but I thought carcinogens were banned. Like, shouldn't they be banned? They're not really banned. The reason being is they are introduced into our environment in controlled, appropriate doses. But they accumulate in certain areas. Like, cigarettes aren't banned. Like, there's strong warnings against cigarettes, but these are things that are still allowed in our cultures. Carcinogens are not banned. Another one that comes to mind is, and speaking of smoking, is flame retardants in mattresses. Mattresses are loaded with chemicals to not catch on fire. Now, why was that really implemented? It's because so many people smoked in the 60s. Like 40% of people smoked. Fall asleep smoking a cigarette. So now not only you have to deal with the cigarette smoke, you're dealing with the chemicals that are coming through the mattress, known really hard on your endocrine system. They're not banned. They're actually required in mattresses. One of the things I want to just really touch on that is not banned in our country, but is banned in other countries, is glyphosates. If you want more information on this, you can listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. You want to search the podcast he did with RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They go into an hour-long discussion in detail with citations on why glyphosates, how it all came about, the harvesting techniques, the whole background behind it, and then the hard science behind that. We know it causes cancer and it is bad for us. Here's what's a little disheartening is you're going to get glyphosates on non-organic vegetables and fruits. They're now finding them on organic vegetables and fruits. They're finding them in ice cream. They're finding glyphosates on tampons. They're highly concentrated in clothing. They're in drinking water. And now when they test the urine populations, they're finding 100% rate of glyphosates in urine. So this is something we've introduced into our environment, and we're going to have to deal with. Glyphosate's a weed killer, also called Roundup. It was developed really for corn and corn production. They genetically modify organisms. Let's just take corn, for example, so that Roundup will kill everything, every vegetable or every weed, every grass. But because the corn is modified, it's not going to kill that corn. And they found this, it's pretty ingenious way to kill things you don't want and have something thrive that you still want to thrive, as far as, in the form of corn. The downside is it's terrible for the human body. It's not good for us. And another bad thing is they typically spray it as well with certain crops like wheat, to dry them out to make the production higher. So they're spraying it towards the end, and then it's going right into the food source. So we're going to come in contact with these things. We can try to minimize them through organic foods, but they're finding them in organic foods now. I think the theory is that it's blowing over from adjoining fields. It's blowing over from other places that it's being spread. So really, this is another case where if you want to have glyphosate-free food, you're going to have to grow it yourself. You're going to have a location of a regenerative farm that is away from other farms. You got to really think about the steps you've got to go through to ensure that your food source isn't tainted with this. So we are not fighting blind against glyphosates, though. We have an amazing chemical in our body called glutathione. This is massive. Glutathione is so important. It is the strongest antioxidant that we've ever discovered in mankind. It is produced in the liver. It helps the liver make toxins, which are all fat soluble, and it turns them into a water soluble form, it's so important for detox. Glutathione is also used to be a reducer. So that's what an antioxidant does. So if you have oxidative stress, which comes from, like, let's just take like sunlight, or you've gotten a lot of x-rays, or you've been smoking, or you've been living a really hard lifestyle, you haven't been getting sleep, you get this oxidative stress in your body. Glutathione is the strongest chemical that's going to go around and reduce those things. So let me give you guys an example. This is important, and maybe this will explain this better. So I play a game. I coach my son's soccer team, and he's 6 years old, or he's 5 years old. So I have 4 and 5 year olds that I'm trying to teach soccer, and I didn't play soccer. I played football. And there's this really cool game called Cops and Robbers in soccer that the kids pick up quickly. It teaches skills. It's fun, but it's a perfect analogy for what glutathione does. So in Cops and Robbers, you're going to have like 6 kids with soccer balls, and you have 2 kids that don't have soccer balls, and those are the cops. The robbers have the soccer balls. Now around the field, I have spread like 10 cones. And what the robbers' jobs is they go around with the soccer ball, and the only way they can tip a cone over is by kicking a soccer ball at the cone. It teaches them to dribble and then kick the cone. And then as the cones get kicked over by the multiple robbers, the cop's job is to flip that cone back over so the money doesn't spill out of the cone, and they save the money. It's fun. They love it. But this is a perfect analogy for glutathione. So I want you guys to visualize the robbers are like the things that oxidize. So this would be things that damage your cells, bad choices. And that's what's going to flip over the cone. And a cone that flips over too long, a cell that's been damaged for too long and not picked up by the immune system, it's going to turn into a cancer cell. Now, the cops are glutathione. Those are the guys going around, and as you damage the cells, they're flipping the cones back over and back over and back over and back over. And they're making sure that things are right in the world, so that the money isn't spilling out of the cones, that you're building cancer. Now, here's where we run into problems, is when you got too many cones to flip over. So you smoke cigarettes, and you drink, and you don't eat good food, and you don't exercise. So instead of 10 cones and 10 robbers, you got 1,000 cones and 1,000 robbers. And the other option that can happen is you're not producing enough glutathione. So there's not enough cops going around. So how do we make more cops? How do we make these guys that are going to go around, turn over these cones, and make sure they don't turn into cancer cells? So here are the steps to boosting glutathione. An interesting thing about glutathione is it really cannot be absorbed through ingesting it, through nutrition. Glutathione itself is very poorly taken in like a supplement form. It's why we don't really recommend it in a supplement form. You can take it, but the studies I've read is it doesn't really get in your body. It doesn't change the blood glutathione levels. So what happens is you've got to do things. There's some things that you can do to boost it yourself. So how we're going to boost glutathione is with a couple strategies. Number one way is to take whey protein. By and large is the best way to boost glutathione, because whey protein has high absorbable levels of amino acid called cysteine. And that is the building block for glutathione. As you raise your cysteine intake, glutathione is going to raise. So we want a high quality whey protein. Whey protein is excellent. Not only is it boost glutathione, it's going to raise your metabolism. Most individuals I meet, especially older individuals, are under protein. They're not eating enough protein to support their muscle mass and their joint health and their bone density. So whey protein is number one. Number two way to boost glutathione is exercise, just moving your body. Number three is not drinking alcohol. Drinking alcohol tanks your glutathione. So we want to, really the best recommendation I've heard is 2 drinks per week is the only safe amount of alcohol to consume. But if we could stay to that recommendation, that would be outstanding. Sleep regenerates glutathione. And then we also have sulfur-rich foods. Eating things like garlic, shallots, and onions are going to boost your glutathione. And then we got to go back to what we talked about, B vitamins. Having the proper B vitamins, the proper form of folate is also going to boost your glutathione. So that is not taking folic acid, not eating fortified foods and screwing up your liver. It's only getting natural forms of that B vitamin, folate, or taking that in supplement form. Those are the things we want to do on a daily basis to increase those robbers, get the glutathione up. So we have the strongest antioxidant working for us on a daily. We want to do this daily. This is a daily action. We need to be thinking about glutathione on a daily aspect. This is not something we do once a week, once a month. We need to kill those cancer cells on a daily regimen. All right. Key number 3 to killing cancer and being battle ready for cancer is to de-stress, sleep, and align your nervous system. So we've got to talk about Sasha and Dasha, if we're going to talk about stress and nervous system. This is a fascinating study. These are Russian Siamese twins, and you can look this up. It's a really cool study to read. They shared almost everything, their internal organs. They had the same circulatory system, the same digestive system almost entirely. They shared an endocrine system, and they shared a set of kidneys. Like they shared, the fact they shared a circulatory system is massive. The only thing they really had that was separate, they had separate hearts, and they had a separate nervous system, and they had separate lungs. I think they shared a third lung. You can look at the study and quote me on that, but I think they had one lung each, and they had like a third one that worked for both of them. But they really had separate nervous systems. That was the only thing that was different. And when you look at when they studied them and how they went through life, it is absolutely fascinating. One of these girls got measles and the other one didn't get measles. That's crazy. They share the same circulatory system, but because of their separate nervous systems, one was able to completely fight it off and not get it. One exhibited symptoms of the measles. One got chronic illness. The other wasn't really ever sick. One developed certain diseases. They had different temperaments and moods. But the fascinating thing is the big delineating factor, and really what this research study in the Russians proved, was that the nervous system was so important when it came to illness, disease, and mental states, obviously. So how are we going to address this? How are we going to address our nervous system? Your nervous system controls everything. It is the master control system in the body. If we go back, I want to quickly go back to this blueprint for a healthy house. The top two aspects of health: mindset and spine nervous system. That is your central nervous system. That is the hierarchy. That needs to be healthy first. What's fascinating to me is we've all met somebody who smokes a pack of cigarettes a day. They drink Dr. Pepper. They kind of do everything wrong, but they still lived in 95 to 100. I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that they have a different nervous system, that is what's different in them, how they think about things, the mental impulses, how those mental impulses make it to their body. Their master controller is different, and that's how they've been able to keep health even though they've done everything wrong. So stress is for sure a cancer risk. There's multiple studies when you look at this that stress is a cancer risk. I want to just bring up something fascinating as I was researching this talk. I've researched this talk now. I've done this talk for over 15 years, this cancer prevention talk. And this talks close to my heart because I've had multiple families members I've lost them to cancer. I'm sure you guys have as well. Excuse me. When I would research this talk, um, and I would, you're just doing a simple Google search to look up things every year, but this year, more natural preventative things would be towards the top of the search list because that's what people are looking for. This year, it has blown me away that if I wanted to find anything natural, more preventative, just in nature, it was on page 2, page 3 of the Google search. The algorithm has changed to make the more pharmaceutical solutions all go to the top in the first page. I've never seen this before. So I'm not, maybe I'm not saying a conspiracy theorist, but there is definitely been a change in the algorithm, and you're going to have to fight for the information that you want to have. This makes my purpose even stronger, that this information is harder to find. It was much harder for me to research to find, where in previous years it was always kind of towards the top because so many people are looking for alternatives and preventative measures. So the top 3 culprits that I've seen with patients over the years when it comes to leading to stress, and this is very clear that I've seen with patients. Number 1 is social media. Social media is stressful for many reasons, but the main reason is social media causes the 2 main reasons is comparison, and we're stressed out by comparisons as humans. And our nervous systems, number 2, we're not meant to keep up with more than 150 people to be judged by, or really care about the opinion of, or really keep tabs on more than 150 people. We go more than that, and our system is overloaded. Our brains have not evolved to really handle this amount of social interaction and seeing this amount of people, and it stresses us out. Now, on top of that is you're going to get a dopamine hit and a dopamine fix from social media. That as you get that quick dopamine fix, that's also going to stress you out over time. I have removed it from my phone. I have social media, but it is done from a desktop. It is no longer on my phone. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it has reduced my stress remarkably. I would say more than 50%, but social media is a stressor, and it is going to stress you out. Number 2 is the news and current events. And 50 years ago, absolutely read the newspaper. Today's day and age, it's so political, and it's all about polarity and picking a team and picking a side. I wouldn't call it news or current events anymore. It's fear. It is purely just fear. The sky is falling. If it bleeds, it leads. They know that. And this is what happens is the news causes a fear response. It causes you to get a reaction in your body, an actual chemical reaction in your body, and you slowly get addicted to that feeling of chemical reaction. And what that happens is you'll notice a lot of people, they'll just have the news going on in the background of their house. It like calms them down, like to have just like the news going on. What that is it's triggering this little chemical reaction that you're addicted to that calms you down. Cut that out. I get my news from my patients. I hate to say that. I'm like, if something's really important, I'm going to hear it from them. And I don't like that they're watching the news, but that's how I get my news. And really, here's what it boils down to, guys. If you really can't do anything about it or take action on it, it doesn't do you any good to know about it. If you're in politics, or if you're taking political action, you're part of a political action committee, or you are running for, hey, you got to know those things. But 99.9% of people, you're not getting any benefit from the news. Zero. I can tell you with a lot of certainty, your life is going to be remarkably better. Your stress is going to be lower by completely cutting out the news. And it is out of my house completely. We don't know what's going on. We don't watch it. My wife doesn't watch it. But we're about to go visit family for the holidays, and sometimes they do. And what was fascinating to me is I noticed that sometimes we'll come back from those trips and bring it into our household a little bit, and we'll get that little addiction. So we're like, if it's on, like, I'm going to ask family, turn it off. Hey, do we need to be watching this? It has no place in a healthy mindset and healthy nervous system. And then lastly, the thing I see stress out people is their work or occupation. Now, It's a touchy subject. I believe, like, I was stressed to give this talk, to prepare for this, to present this. It's somewhat of a stressful process, but that's a good stress. This is in alignment with my purpose. This is in alignment with my love for patients, my love for people. This is what I like doing, but it's not super comfortable to do this all the time. But it's a good stress. There is a difference between that, in my opinion, and chronic stress from a work or job that is not part of your purpose. So you have a couple options, in my opinion. You can either find a new job, quit your job, find something else. And we've told multiple patients to quit their job, and they followed through. They've done it, and a lot of them told us the best thing they ever did. They really didn't understand until they quit how bad their job was affecting their health, their mental health, and their physical health, like changes in digestion, changes in sleep, changes in skin conditions because they changed your job. So you can change your position, or if that's not something that's reality, you just got to implement the things in your life to deal with the work stress. Different strategies like exercise and eating good and putting self-care first. And that's just part of life. But I found with working with patients that work is a huge stress, enormous stress. And it's not my place to tell you what to do here, but I would just ask if it's in alignment with your purpose, it's a good stress and you should be doing it. And if your purpose is to take care of your family, support your people, you need to look at it through that lens. And when things get tough or things get chronic, that's why you're doing it. You're doing it for a purpose. But if you don't feel like it's any way, shape, or form part of your purpose, that's going to have negative health effects. And then on top of this, with all the stress, we see 1 in 3 people don't get enough sleep. And sleep is one of the biggest things we have as far as a strategy to downregulate stress and our ability to cope with it. So we can't have the stress of social media, watching the news, and work stress and not getting enough sleep. Do you guys see that that is a recipe for having a damaged nervous system that is not going to heal and function your body properly? So I hope for some of you guys, as I went through those things, this may be a little bit of a wake-up call. If you found yourself checking the boxes for that, talk to me about it. Talk to somebody about it. Let's, a problem spoken about is a problem halved. Let's cut this problem in half and let's talk about things that strategies, think outside the box to how we can put things in order where this isn't reality anymore, because this is not fun and it's not good for you. All right. A lot of you may think like you view your spinal health and subluxation is when the spine is out of its normal position. So bad posture, or there's a bone out of position. It's why you go to the chiropractor. It's why you get adjusted. A lot of you may think in the terms that spinal care, chiropractic care, correcting your posture, it's good for pain. It is good for pain. It's good for headaches. It's good for neck pain. It's good for back. It's great for those things. Having a good alignment, having a good structure. The function of your spine will be better because function follows structure. But when you look at the literature and the studies on what chiropractic is actually really good for, it is stress and adaptation. It is you're changing your central nervous system so you can do this thing called life and you can adapt to it. That is what it's actually good for. They've seen this with studies with what's called heart rate variability. So using chiropractic, your home care, when you're doing those things, I want you guys to remember it's great for your pain. It's great for the main reason, your main symptom that you're seeing us for. But I want you to remember that actually what it's the best for is for you adapting to stress and adapting to life and fighting cancer. If you can adapt to those things, you can adapt to your environment properly, you're going to be able to take on cancer better. A supplement that's huge for stress is magnesium. Now, the hard thing with magnesium is there's 11 forms of magnesium. Which one do I take? Do I take this one? This one's for constipation. This one's for this. This one's for sleep. The two best forms are magnesium glycinate or glycinate, magnesium oxide. Those are the forms that are in our magnesium. They're the most available. They're the forms that are for the purpose of what we want to use magnesium for, which is stress relief, sleep, not so much for digestive health. This is a different type of magnesium. I would highly recommend if you check the box with the stress category, or you don't get enough sleep, or you have a high stress lifestyle, job, kids, family, that this is part of your daily supplementation. And then we're going to support our nervous system with exercise. We have this amazing thing that was given to us to help manage stress, and that is called exercise. Now, I mentioned it doesn't make your mood better, but it enables you to adapt to bad things much better. The bad thing about exercise is nobody's doing it. It's not being done. And I want to just tell you, the thing I hear is, why don't you exercise? I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. And I don't have time is the adult version of my dog ate my homework. That's what it is. You make time for things that are important for you. So if you catch yourself saying, I don't have time, I just want you to replace it with, I don't have a desire, and this is not that important for me. Because I will tell you, when you get cancer, you're going to find time for your chemotherapy and your radiation appointments. You're going to be able to pencil those in. I'm going to tell you that without a doubt. I'm talking from firsthand experience. We have got to carve out time and make self-care and make care for ourselves a priority. Only 1 in 5 adults reaches the physical guidelines of activity. You're going to have a higher risk for death, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, depression, cancer. 25% of children 5 and up already have plaque forming on their arteries that's primarily from diet and not moving. 60% of 15 to 19-year-old kids have a buildup on their coronary arteries. Childhood obesity has more than doubled in the last 30 years. There's an epidemic of inactivity, guys. There's no excuse. We are adults. I understand if you're injured. I see patients who literally cannot exercise. They can barely walk. You got to do what you can do. Standing up and sitting from a chair over and over again, going for a walk. It's a sin. It's a sin not to exercise. It's terrible for your heart not to exercise. It's terrible for inflammation. But the worst thing it's terrible for your nervous system and your immune system. We're exercising for our brain. We're exercising for our immune system. Those are the main reasons not to look good. That's a great side effect. But we've got to take action, and we've got to make time for self-care. Now, that's what this challenge in this course is completely about. This is all about self-care. You cannot serve from an empty cup. And this is what I'm going to challenge everyone to do. This is where the rubber meets the road. Self-care must be first. What you're telling yourself when you're putting self-care first is that you are important, your family is important, that you matter, that you are worth this. This is a transformational experience to put self-care first. I have put together a 28-day course that we're going to be able to utilize you can use it on YouTube, or you can join the Facebook group. If you don't have Facebook, you're listening to your doctor and you don't have social media, we also are going to put together YouTube videos. So there's really no excuse. And over these 28 days, I'm going to give you the hardest hitting, best things on mindset, health, prevention that you're going to be able to journal on, take action on, that I've encountered in my over decade experience of being a natural health provider. The best things, the heavy hitters, we're going to put it all together for you to really utilize on a daily basis and utilize it like a course. We're going to recommend that you join the Facebook group if you can, if you have Facebook, for support, to do posting, to have these daily videos. I'm going to recommend that you replace one of your meals with a smoothie per day that has the whey protein and the greens. And then also that you take the Daily Essentials supplement packet. Now, the Daily Essentials includes, and this is why I've chosen it, includes all the most important things, the things that are essential. So that's fish oil, the omegas, that's the magnesium, that's the B vitamins in the proper form, that's the vitamin D3 and probiotics, and then also a multivitamin that's going to be tweaked depending on if you're a male or a female. And that you do those every day for 28 days. I think it's actually a 30-day supply, though, that you get. And then we're going to commit to 45 minutes of movement a day, minimum. That'd be 45 minutes of walking, 45 minutes of jogging. If you do HIIT exercises, you can do less time. So if you're doing like the Max T3 program or like some type of HIIT where it's like high intensity, low duration, that's fine. But if you're doing a low intensity exercise, something like strength training, walking, running, jogging, swimming, biking, elliptical, whatever the case is, moving our body, guys. That's it. We're moving our body. We're doing it for 45 minutes. You can get about 4,500 steps to 6,000 steps, depending on how fast you're walking in that 45 minutes. That's the simple challenge. That is it. Now I have set this up, and this is where I want to get real clear. There's something that's happening, or something that happens when you do this first in the day. It's called the first fruits. There's certain fruits that can only be picked early in the day. If you can do this first thing in the morning, and what I'm recommending is you wake up first thing in the morning and you hear from me. You fill up your brain. Get your nervous system attuned, get your nervous system in the right alignment with the right energy, learning, taking action, journaling. Quickly get your nervous system shifted with a quick video. Then make your smoothie and take your supplements, and then go for a walk or exercise. If you do a hard exercise, you're going to exercise on an empty stomach, and then take your smoothie and then do your supplements after the exercise. If you do this first thing in the morning, you are telling yourself that you are important, that your health is important, that not getting cancer is important. It's going to change your commitment level, your trust in yourself, your purpose, your why. Things are going to change over 28 days when you put yourself first every morning. Now, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to prioritize sleep. You may have to wake up a little early. This is what would be difficult for me, would be the sleep portion. Now, I do want to let you guys know, we have a tool in the office. We have partnered with a compounding pharmacy to make a CBD melatonin mixture that really helps if you have problems going to sleep like I do. Now, I do want to let you know this is not a great long-term solution. This is something I do not recommend it for kids. I do not recommend high doses of melatonin for children. This is really for adults only. And it should not be done. The meant of this is not to be done for the rest of your life. This is meant to just get you in the right groove. You can absolutely do it for the whole month. But if you take this sleep formulation that we have in the clinic, you're going to go to sleep within 30 minutes, unless you're really trying to stay up. So I would highly recommend you leverage that resource in the office. I believe we are out. We're ordering more. But I highly recommend this challenge, forcing you to prioritize sleep. Now, how you join the challenge, there's going to be a link to join the Facebook group. There's going to be a link to the YouTube videos. And when you get in the Facebook group, there's going to have the rules of the challenge, what's expected of you, the things we're going to be asking you to do. It's also, these are the supplements. If you want to utilize the supplements during the challenge, you want to leverage these. For the month of October in the clinic, they're 20% off, which is that's a large discount. So typically this whole package would be $245. It's down to $190. I think it's $196. So it's a great discount for you. I would highly recommend recommending these supplements, especially the smoothie. On the side note here, guys, like, this is what I do every single day. I go through different seasons where, like, I'll take vitamin C in the winter. I'll take like creatine when I'm working out, and different supplements. I'm asked all that. That's one of the main questions I get from patients. Like, what supplements do you take? These are supplements I take 365 days a year. I'm doing daily essentials. I'm doing the protein. I'm doing greens. I'll do detoxes throughout the year. I'll do other different things, but this is what I am consistent with. This is the foundation, and it's for good reason. And you guys now know all the science behind what went into these and why they're so important. So, action steps and things coming up, guys. We are going to be having a sleep workshop in the month of December. Be on the lookout for that. We're going to be reiterating and beating the drum again on why sleep is so important. I'm a strong believer that there's different seasons throughout the year, and the season of winter is a time for rest and rejuvenation and sleep. It's darker longer. We need more sleep this time of year. We need those things. This is the time of year for reflection, thinking about our life and our identity and our purpose, and resting and going inward, going back into the household, reconnecting with the household. So then we can spring out, we can have a summer of action, but sleep is super important in the wintertime. And we're going to be doing a workshop on that. And let's take our battle ready action steps. Let's join the challenge, join the course. This is a 28-day course. And when you are done with this course, you're going to have a much stronger understanding of the psychology of what it means to be healthy. You're going to understand supplements in depth. You're going to understand what it really takes and how important you are. So you guys, thank you so much for joining it with us, connecting with us, joining the mission, breaking the generational curses of disease, diabetes, heart disease, ultimately cancer. Share this video with somebody if you found it to be profound for you. You want somebody to join the challenge with you. You found it to be valuable and you want somebody to join with you. Share this with your friends and family. I love you guys and I look forward to challenging with you. See ya.